Today is Thursday, September 28th. We'll bring you a few of the most standout moments from last night's GOP presidential debate, and we'll tell you the latest from the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, what to expect from the first hearing today, and a couple of key things in the hundreds of related documents just released. Plus, the millions of cars now recalled that shouldn't be parked near homes, the capabilities and celebrities in Meta's newest AI announcement, and a historic Oscar lost and now replaced. We'll explain. Those stories and more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. 7 of the top 8 Republican presidential candidates squared off for the second time, battling over some of America's most pressing issues. They talked about abortion, immigration, gun violence, healthcare costs, education, the opioid crisis, workers' rights, the war in Ukraine, and of course, the GOP frontrunner, former President Trump, even though Trump wasn't actually there himself. One of Trump's biggest Republican critics, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, accused Trump of dividing families all over the U.S., while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said Trump should have been there to explain how his administration added $7.8 trillion to the national debt. There was also plenty of criticism for President Biden. Like former Vice President Mike Pence mocked him for joining the picket lines in Michigan with auto workers, saying Biden, quote, doesn't belong on the picket line, he belongs on the unemployment line. While Senator Tim Scott said Biden should actually be at the southern border. At times, the candidates attacked each other, too. For example, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley told entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, quote, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. While Ramaswamy kept trying to cast himself as a Washington outsider, admitting he doesn't know everything, but that he knows how to use staff and develop a strong organization. Also of note, California's Governor Gavin Newsom was there to respond on behalf of the Democrats. He called President Biden the winner of the debate, saying the Republican candidates only identified problems, whereas Biden has come up with solutions. And former President Trump's campaign team called the debate, quote, as boring and inconsequential as the first debate. The first votes for the 2024 presidential primaries will be cast in less than 4 months. Top House Republicans are moving ahead with their impeachment inquiry into President Biden, specifically eyeing potential charges like bribery and abuse of power. Today, the House Oversight Committee is holding the first official hearing on the matter, where 3 conservative legal analysts will talk generally about the Bidens and the law. Ahead of today's hearing, Republican members of another House committee released more than 700 pages of documents from an IRS whistleblower. Republicans called it incriminating material that ties President Biden to his son's foreign business dealings, aka the whole reason for this impeachment inquiry. But Democrats say GOP lawmakers cherry-picked information in the docs that give a distorted view of allegations against the Bidens. So what exactly do those documents show? Well, some of them are records of wire transfers from a Chinese businessman to Hunter Biden that together total hundreds of thousands of dollars. They listed his father's Delaware address, which some say suggests President Biden profited off the transactions. Hunter Biden's lawyers, though, defend it, saying their client was actually living at his father's Delaware home at the time. The documents also include an email in which a prosecutor at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware stopped investigators from mentioning President Biden in a proposed search warrant in 2020. So Republicans argue that shows the Justice Department was biased in favor of Biden even before he won the presidency. The White House has called today's hearing a baseless stunt, but it is expected to be the first hearing of many. An American soldier who dashed into North Korea earlier this summer was allowed to return home to the United States this week. You may remember this story. Private Travis King was stationed in South Korea, but he faced potential punishment by the U.S. Army over assault charges and was supposed to board a flight back to the U.S. in July. Instead, he left the airport and bolted across the border, making him the first American service member to voluntarily enter North Korea in decades. Ever since, King has been imprisoned in North Korea. That is, until the Biden administration was able to work with Swedish officials to secure King's release, since the North Korean government will not engage directly with the U.S., though officials say the U.S. did not make any concessions to North Korea in exchange. The U.S. has decided to add Israel to the select list of countries whose citizens can travel to the U.S. without visas. And that's considered a big step forward in the two countries' relationship. The U.S. says it made the change because the Israeli government dropped long-standing travel restrictions on Palestinian Americans and other Americans of Arab and Muslim descent. But there has been some backlash. The American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee sued, trying to stop the Biden administration from entering into this agreement. The group says some Palestinian Americans who have traveled to Israel recently have faced discrimination, and that should be resolved before this type of deal goes through. Still, the no visa travel for Israelis is set to go into effect at the end of November. An American astronaut has finally returned home from a record-breaking trip, feeling the pull of Earth's gravity for the first time in more than a year. Frank Rubio spent 371 days in space, longer than any other American in history. He actually expected to be gone just 6 months, but his planned return got upended in December when Mission Control found a leak in the Russian spacecraft that was supposed to take him home. It's believed the spacecraft was likely struck by space debris in orbit. So a different spacecraft had to be sent to the International Space Station. And now NASA officials say they're actually happy it worked out this way, since it will help them better understand long-duration space missions and what kind of effects they have on the human body. Plus, Rubio apparently got a lot of research done on the ISS on everything from plants to physical sciences. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Ever wish you had visibly thicker hair? Well, there are multiple root causes of hair thinning. And by the way, this happens to about 1 in 2 women. So what can you do about it? Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement clinically shown to improve visible thickness and strength. For example, in a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol Women's Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months. So that is the one I take now, but I started with the postpartum option and just kept taking Nutrafol after noticing a change for the better. No matter the root cause for you, or no matter your stage in life, like postpartum, menopause, or neither, there's an option for you. There's even a vegan formula now. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code NEWSWORTHY. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code NEWSWORTHY. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code NEWSWORTHY. Now back to the news. Tonight is your last chance to see a supermoon in 2023. Remember, a supermoon happens when the moon is at or near its closest point to Earth in its orbit, making the moon appear larger and brighter than at other points in the cycle. This one is actually called the harvest moon since it happens at the end of the summer growing season. So this is when crops need to be picked from fields, and the supermoon light used to be especially crucial in the days before tractors with headlights. It should be visible tonight after sunset and is expected to reach peak illumination at about 6 a.m. Eastern Time. There's a warning this morning for people who own a Hyundai or a Kia. The car makers are recalling 3.4 million vehicles in the U.S., saying there's a risk of the engines catching fire even when they're turned off. Dozens of reports have already come in about fires, but thankfully no reports of any crashes or injuries. Still, until repairs are made, the companies say owners should park outside and away from any homes or other buildings. Kia's recall covers 10 models from 2010 to 2017, while Hyundai's covers 13 models made between 2011 and 2015. The automakers say they'll start notifying car owners in November and let them know they'll need to go to dealers to get a fix. In the meantime, though, you can see if your vehicle is impacted by visiting a link we've added in today's episode notes. Meta is the latest tech company to unveil a host of new artificial intelligence products and features. For example, a new Meta AI Chatbot assistant. It's already available now in WhatsApp, Messenger, and Instagram, and it'll eventually be available to people using Meta's new Ray-Ban smart glasses and Meta's new Quest 3 virtual reality headset. Both come out next month. The chatbot itself is similar to competitors like OpenAI's ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude, responding to prompts in a conversational and friendly tone. But Meta also announced a partnership with Bing to give real-time web results, too. Also, people have the option to choose an AI character to respond to them. Some are even played by famous people like Snoop Dogg, Tom Brady, and Paris Hilton. Besides giving you information, Meta AI can apparently create photorealistic images from text prompts. So you could write something like, create a picture of a dog flying in the sky with a superhero cape on, and it will create that. Meta executives do warn it's still possible this AI says things that are inaccurate or inappropriate, but that teams have spent thousands of hours trying to train both its main AI assistant and characters to stay clear of harmful topics. The organization behind the Academy Awards is making sure a historic Oscar winner is not forgotten by replacing an award that's been missing for decades. It was originally awarded to Hattie McDaniel in 1939 when she became the first Black person to ever win an Oscar. She won for her performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, even though she was segregated from the other nominees at the ceremony. Then, when she died, McDaniel left her Oscar to the historically Black Howard University, and the award was displayed in the school's drama department up until the 1960s, when it mysteriously disappeared. The Academy says to this day, no one knows what happened to it. Howard is now going to get a new Oscar that honors McDaniel, and it's hosting a ceremony called Hattie's Come Home this weekend. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, this episode is brought to you by Trust and Will. You've probably heard the headlines before where there's a big fight over a celebrity's estate after they pass away. And while we may not have as many assets as famous celebrities, we all, of course, want to help secure the future for our loved ones and keep the process straightforward for them as much as possible. Especially now that I have a child, my husband and I recently decided to complete our first will, and we were pleasantly surprised how simple it was with Trust and Will. Each will or trust is crafted to be state-specific and customized to your needs without having to spend thousands of dollars. I also appreciate bank-level encryption, and although we did not need to use it, Trust and Will also offers live customer support through phone, chat, and email. Trust and Will has earned an overall rating of excellent with thousands of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. No wonder hundreds of thousands of families and counting, including mine, have used their expertise. So gain peace of mind today with Trust and Will. Get 10% off plus free shipping of your estate plan documents by visiting trustandwill.com/newsworthy. That's 10% off and free shipping at trustandwill.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. This week, Google turned 25 years old. Yep, the now iconic search engine debuted in September of 1998. And within just a couple of years, Google had started to dominate the internet. From there, the company launched offshoots like Gmail, Chrome, and Maps, bought YouTube and Android, and acquired ad platforms that eventually turned Google into one of the world's richest firms. All the while, Google's current CEO, Sundar Pichai, says the company has faced tough questions. He says in the 2000s, the question was, how long can the web really last? In the 2010s, it was, will you be able to adapt to mobile devices? And now the question is, what kind of an impact will artificial intelligence have on search? Pichai says AI, quote, may be bigger than the internet itself. So he says his teams are going to use AI to their advantage to build better products. Already, Google has its own AI chatbot called Bard and a Google Assistant. Plus, AI is used for Google Maps, Translate, Cloud, and more. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.